Hi, my name is Ayuba Ojonugwa Muazu, and welcome to this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. Like I said, my name is Ayuba Ojonugwa Muazu. I'm a software developer and I reside in Africa, Nigeria. And basically I'm into programming more with the Microsoft .NET technologies like ASP.NET, C#, Dev Express, Visual Basic, JavaScript. And recently I started diving into the blockchain, and I get to learn about Ethereum and how to program the Ethereum blockchain, notably with the de facto programming language, which is called Solidity. So I program with Solidity, and then of course Web3, which is the gateway to the internet of tomorrow. So basically I'm a blockchain developer and a Microsoft .NET developer. So in this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service, I'm going to walk you through the processes and then every definition that you need to know. And at the end of this tutorial, you should be able to create and manage your own Ethereum name services. Thank you. Welcome to the introductory session on this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. My name is Ayuba Muazu. And my goal here in this session is to define some basic concepts that we of course need to know before we dive into the actual sessions and tutorial on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. So you need to know some basic concepts and definitions here that I'm going to talk about first before we proceed. So basically I'm going to talk about what is a blockchain, what is Ethereum blockchain, and what is a smart contract. So I'm going to discuss these three subtopics one after the other. So just stay with me while you understand these subtopics before we move into creating and managing an Ethereum name service. So first of all, let's start with what is a blockchain. Now, the blockchain is a distributed database with a growing list of records where records added to the network are jointly managed by a global network of computers and are publicly verifiable. So think of the blockchain as a database, of course. Now, but this database is a database that is not centrally located on one computer somewhere in the world. Rather, this database is distributed and is jointly managed by different computers or scattered all around the world. So the blockchain is a database, but a database that is not managed by one server or one computer. Rather, is managed by a global network of computers in which any computer can actually join this network and own a copy of the blockchain. So this makes data in the blockchain to be publicly verifiable, just like how I said here. So that's one aspect of the blockchain. And then secondly, blocks in a chain refers to previous block, like page numbers in a book. Now the records in transactional database, you know, we have rows where each rows contain records. So now in blockchain we have blocks that we have blocks, and then blocks are linked to other blocks via a chain. You know, the chain is I'll come into that later. The chain is a kind of a mathematical algorithm that links several blocks together. Now what I said here, I say blocks in the chain refers to previous block, like page numbers in a book. For example, if you have a book and then let's say you are on page 5, for instance, in the book, you'll know that yes, the previous page before page 5 is page 4, and you'll know that yes, if page 4 is being turned off, then of course it's publicly verifiable. Anybody reading that book will know that yes, page 4 is not available. But wait a minute, what if page 4 is not turned off, but the content of page 4 is altered? You can see then the aim is defeated because you've altered the records in that book. But the blockchain does not refer actually to the previous block via the block number. Rather, it refers to the previous block via a certain kind of fingerprint that is generated from the contents in each block. So if a block contains some records, some data, that data will be encrypted and digitally hashed to create a kind of fingerprint. Now this fingerprint is what the new block coming into the chain will reference, and that new block will also have to create its own fingerprints in which the next coming block will also reference. So that's how the blockchain works, and that's how the blocks in the chain internal consistency. I'll come into that later. So aside that, that's another feature of the blockchain. Then if you look at this diagram here, I say the blockchain is not centrally managed. Yes, of course, because like I said in the beginning, I said it's a distributed database that is jointly managed by a global network of computers. Now since it's distributed and is jointly managed by a global network of computers, it means the blockchain is not centrally managed. It means each and every node, or each and every computer, or each and every server that joins the network in the blockchain will own a full copy of all the transactional history of that particular blockchain. So it's like a ledger. It's like an open ledger that everybody owns a copy. So that's how it is, and everyone checks everyone else changes to it. So if you make a change, if one computing node change the contents in the block, of course that change will have to be updated all around, so that all the computing nodes joining that all the computing nodes in that blockchain network must own a full copy. So if you look at the example here, these are like, let's say, 3 different computing nodes: Alice, Bob, and Charlie. Now, so if you look at Alice's copy, for instance, let's say in Bitcoin, for instance, she has 5 BTC, Bob has 2 BTC, and then Charlie has 3 BTC. Now each and every one of them, both the Alice, the Bob, and the Charlie, have to own a full copy of these records here. Unlike the traditional system that we know, that these records will be centrally managed by one computer or one server or one organization. So the blockchain is not like that. Since it's not centrally managed, that means it creates a kind of data democracy. You know, if the data is centrally managed by one organization, one government, of course that data can be compromised, and that creates a kind of data monarchy. It can be compromised, the data can be used against you. The holder of the data can be so powerful, just like what we see today. A lot of tech giants, they are not really powerful because of the solution they are deploying. No, they are powerful because they own and control a large amount of data, more especially people's data. I think of Facebook, for instance. Look at the Facebook own like 1/4 of the world's data with it on its platform, and that makes Mark Zuckerberg to be kind of very powerful, because he have a copy of all our data on Facebook, everything we post, our profiles and everything. So it makes him very powerful. Of course, governments of countries can actually pay him to obtain a copy of that data, and then big organizations can also actually pay him to own a copy of that data. So centrally managing data, it's not really cool at all. And then aside the power that it gives central managers and central organization, it's also it's also very vulnerable to different kinds of a cyber attack, because there's a target. People know where to target, they know the servers to target and all that. So the blockchain has solved that problem of data monarchy. Now, so if another diagram here, I want to show you a typical transaction flow of the blockchain. Let's say, for instance, in this diagram here, let's say Mr. A wants to send money to Mr. B, and then let me just explain how the method of operation works in the blockchain. So first of all, A wants to send money to B, basically cryptocurrency. He wants to send cryptocurrency from A to B. Now a transaction is created in the network. A transaction is created between A and B. So now this transaction is created, then the transaction is broadcasted to the network and is validated. So this transaction that is being created that says, hey, A is transferring money to B, this transaction will be this transaction will be hashed, will be encrypted, and then it will be broadcasted to the network. So it means different computers that are in this network will see this transaction that is being broadcasted, and then they will have to validate and verify this transaction. That's okay, yes, this transaction fulfills the requirement to be added into the block of the blockchain. So once the transaction has met all those requirements, in which basically the transaction has to reference the previous block fingerprint. So after that is done, the transaction is put into a new block. So all these computing nodes here have verified that yes, this transaction is correct, we're okay with it. Then the transaction is now being put into a new block. Now once the transaction is being put into a new block, the network approves the block. So the whole network approves the block, all the computing nodes approves the block, and then is sealed. It's like a sealed contract. Okay, yes, we all agree that yes, this block is valid and it's okay, so that contract is sealed. And once that contract is sealed, once that block is sealed, it's now then added to the chain. So you can see a number here, 5, 6, and then a new dollar signs, and then you can see a new transaction is being added to the chain. And then of course after that, then the transaction is executed and the money moves from A to B. So this is a typical transactional flow of how the blockchain works. But internally, like I said in the beginning, the blockchain has a kind of internal consistency because of its mode of operation, and this makes the blockchain to be immutable. This makes the blocks in the chain to be immutable. Immutable means unchangeable, unhackable, unupdatable. So like I said, if you look at what I wrote here, I said a pick inside a blockchain block, the fingerprints are unique to the block content. So just like in the last example that we did a transaction where A is moving money to B, that transaction, if it's been sealed and is being put into the block, a fingerprint is generated, a hash actually is generated from the content, the transactional content in that block. So that block, based on the content in that block, a fingerprint will be generated. So once that fingerprint is generated, the incoming block will have to reference this previous block via the fingerprint. So this kind of creates a kind of data internal consistency, and then this makes hacking blocks in the blockchain to be extremely difficult. For example, it means if I have to hack this block, if I have to retrieve change the information on this block, it means I have to change the information on this block and the previous block before this block, like that. So if I have to change the information on this block, I have to first of all get hold of the information here and here and here and here, like that. So imagine millions of computers agreeing to the same record, agreeing to the same fact, agreeing to the same source of truth, it's going to be extremely difficult to hack that. It means you have to have a computer that is more powerful than all those million computers to be able to hack that. And that is computationally not just okay, it's computationally difficult, and it's waste of money, waste of energy, and just to get a small record. So this makes the blockchain to be termed unhackable. That's just that. Now, aside that, like I said in the beginning, I said the blockchain is not centrally managed. Unlike the traditional client-server architecture that we have today, if you look at the traditional client-server architecture that we have today, data is centralized and is managed by either an organization or a government, or or any country or any institution. So this creates a kind of single point of control or failure. Like I explained in the beginning, if they own your data, of course they have a lot of rights over you, because they can manipulate the data, they can use the data against your will, they can share your data against your will, and a lot of stuff that they can do. So centrally managing the data, it's it's not just cool at all, just like I said in the beginning. And of course, the client-server architecture we run today, that's how it works. So and this is not just okay, but you see, with the blockchain, as data is not centrally managed, data is decentralized. Where all the computing nodes join this network to own a full copy of the data and to create a single point of truth. The single point of truth means all of these nodes here, for example in this diagram, agree to a particular protocol, agree to a particular source of truth. And then this kind of creates a kind of permanent web, because number one, if one of the node is down, due to some certain reasons, of course the records is still there, because it's decentralized and distributed all around the world. So this the blockchain creates this permanent web, in which of course that's the original intention of the internet. The internet was originally designed to to be decentralized, actually, not to be centralized. So the blockchain, it's with this feature alone, the blockchain is like a technology that will bring about a just system, a technology that will bring about a single point of truth, a technology that people can trust, and then a technology that what you code in that technology will be able to run in forever. And that will bring us to another very interesting topic called the smart contract, in which I'm going to talk about that later. So but basically this is how the blockchain works. And of course there are different kinds of blockchains. There are different blockchains, like the Bitcoin has its own Bitcoin blockchain with different computing nodes joining the network, in which you can join the network if you feel like. You can join the network via your computer. You could be a miner, where you can mine Bitcoin and allow transactions to pass through. Then there is Ethereum. Ethereum is also a blockchain similar to Bitcoin, but with more interesting features like the smart contract and a whole lot of other cool stuff that Ethereum is bringing. So the blockchain is just starting. We are not yet deep in it yet, but who knows the different kind of application that we'll see in the nearest future that will be powered by the blockchain. So it's actually an interesting technology that is coming at the right time. It's phenomenal. It's just coming at the right time. So that's what the blockchain is. And then in the next video I will talk about Ethereum. What is Ethereum blockchain? Because the purpose of this our video is how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. So first of all, you need to understand what Ethereum is and smart contracts before we dive into the actual reason for this tutorial. Hi, welcome to this introductory session, of course, of this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. My name is Ayuba Moazu, and in the last session I talked about blockchain. I talked about what is a blockchain, and then I talked about the characteristics that makes a blockchain. I talked about immutability. I talked about publicly verifiable transactions. I also talked about trust. I talked about trust, that the blockchain promotes trust, and then it promotes a kind of just system. And aside that, the blockchain, will also impact on our social lives, because we will be transiting into an era in the future where people will have to trust technology more than they trust people. So if the blockchain is the dreams of the blockchain is fully realized, and then we have a lot of decentralized application running in several sectors of the economy, then people will tend to trust computers and machines more than they trust humans in running business. Now, in this course here, I'll talk about Ethereum, and then you will see how Ethereum is significantly adding value and playing a vital role to achieve this blockchain of our dream. So Ethereum is a platform, a decentralized platform that runs smart contracts. It was founded by a guy named Vitalik Buterin. I think he's from Switzerland, and it's an application that you can use to run smart contracts. It's a platform that you can use to run smart contracts. I'll talk about smart contracts later. So first of all, I'm just going to list the attributes of Ethereum that makes it to be different from Bitcoin, and why Ethereum is being seen as, in future, the de facto platform that the world is going to use to do a lot of business transaction. So Ethereum, like I said, is a decentralized platform that runs smart contracts. That is a fact. And then with Ethereum, of course, there is no possibility of downtime, because since Ethereum runs on the blockchain, of course, there is no possibility of downtime. If you could remember from the last figure I showed here, I said the blockchain is permanently secured. And then I talked about the permanent web. So with this figure here, there is no possibility of downtime, because different nodes that join the network own a full copy of the whole ledger, the whole transactional history of the blockchain. So of course with Ethereum, there is no possibility of downtime. This attribute also applies to Bitcoin and any other blockchain platform like Neo and the rest. Now with Ethereum, there is no possibility of fraud. This also takes us back to that image. There is no possibility of fraud because there is no centralization. Now data is not centralized, data is decentralized, so of course the possibility of fraud is greatly reduced to zero, because no one controls the data, and no one controls the transactions. No one can alter the data that exists in the blockchain. So if a data exists in the blockchain and then you want to correct that data, you just have to rewrite another transaction to cancel the previous transaction, but you can't update or edit a transaction that is already imputed into the blockchain, which makes it, of course, to be immutable, and then of course which makes the possibility of fraud to not to exist. And then Ethereum can be used to move value around. Now, one beautiful thing about Ethereum is it has its own cryptocurrency called Ether. Now Ether, of course, it's money, it has value, and it's currently worth billions of dollars. So Ether is money, and of course that means with Ethereum you can move value around. You can send Ether to people, they can spend it, they can exchange it to dollar, to pounds, to naira, to different kind of currencies that you see today. So Ethereum can be used to move value around, and not just only cryptocurrency. With the advent of smart contracts on Ethereum, you can also use it to move different kinds of property rights and other values. For example, you could write a smart contract that store the information about your car, and then of course we are getting to that era where we'll see those kind of decentralized application, and then you can exchange that car for Ether, or that land, or that property, or or that rights that you have for your digital products. So that is one a possibility of Ethereum. You can use it to move value around. And then Ethereum can be used to represent the ownership of rights and properties. Just like how I was explaining, Ethereum can be used to represent the ownership of rights and properties. For example, digital media content producers like musicians, publishers, game developers, software developers, can represent the ownership of their digital media products with Ethereum. For example, let's say a musician like Snoop Dogg, for instance, he owns the copyrights of his music can be digitally encoded and hashed and stored into the blockchain, and he can claim that ownership anytime, anywhere. So it's a kind of application, it's a kind of attribute that Ethereum has that Bitcoin does not, and that this is only possible because of smart contracts. So a lot of companies are actually coming out with something like that, to enable people to represent the ownership of rights of their intellectual properties, their physical properties, and different kind of properties, where they can exchange it for Ether or for any other value using the Ethereum blockchain. Now that's one very nice attribute of Ethereum. Then Ethereum enabled developers to create decentralized marketplaces. Of course, just like how I was explaining, because of the advent of smart contracts, Ethereum can be used by developers to create marketplaces. So with Ethereum, you can actually create your DApp. That can be a marketplaces. There are a lot of marketplaces coming up online currently that I'm seeing. There is Brand Legit. There is a different kind of marketplaces you can look at. These are decentralized marketplaces where people can transact and exchange properties, rights, cryptocurrency, and different kind of value. So you can program the Ethereum blockchain. That's just basically what it means. So if you're a software developer, you're a programmer, and you're looking into learning how to code the future, code Web3 and Solidity, you can check Ethereum. It's a nice tool. You can look one of my video that I talked about programming Solidity in Web3. Now with Ethereum, you can also create your own cryptocurrency or token. All these are possible because of smart contracts. So with smart contracts, you can actually create contracts that represent a cryptocurrency or a token. The markets today, you will see that most tokens actually most of them are actually created from Ethereum smart contracts. Most of them, they are actually created from Ethereum smart contract. So as a programmer or as a software developer, you can create your own cryptocurrency using the Ethereum blockchain. So it's also a very nice characteristics of Ethereum. and that is possible, like I said, because of smart contracts. Then with Ethereum, Ethereum can be used to kickstart a project and run a crowd sale. Still yet, this is still very important because of smart contract. If you look at most ICOs today, ICO means initial coin offering. Most of them are actually created under the Ethereum platform, under the ERC20 and different kind of standards that Ethereum produce. So you have a project, you have a nice idea, and then you're seeking funding. You could actually tokenize that idea and then run a crowd sale where people can donate Ether, or people can buy your token by exchanging your token with Ether, so that you have funds to be able to kickstart your project. So Ethereum is very, very possible to do that with Ethereum, unlike the traditional way of crowdfunding, where a lot of middlemen are involved, and a lot of teething problems here and there. With Ethereum, actually, it's very, very easy, because you can just kickstart your crowd sale and on a decentralized platform, and you get your Ether that you can use to fund your project or idea. Now, Ethereum can be used to create democratic autonomous organization where machines and robots replace humans. If you remember, I was saying that yes, we are moving into a world where people will trust more machines than they trust humans in doing business transaction. Now, Ethereum, it's one of the goals of Ethereum to achieve that. And of course, as a developer, as a programmer, you could create your own truly democratic autonomous organization where you don't need accountants, you don't need lawyers, you don't need intermediaries to act as escrows and to checkmate issues and checkmate transfers of rights, of properties and ownership. You can create a truly autonomous organization where machines replace all these things, where all these things have been replaced by code, so people can transact business without the need to trust each other, but rather they just trust the machine. They just trust the Ethereum blockchain. They just trust the blockchain, because nobody owns the blockchain, nobody controls the blockchain, and of course this will increase people's trust for it. So of course, and then you can build a decentralized application with Ethereum. So just like how you can build decentralized marketplaces, you can build decentralized applications with Ethereum. That means applications that will run forever. That's just it. Applications that will run forever. Applications that nobody controls. Applications that make people to interact with themselves in a kind of peer-to-peer manner. So these are all the attributes of Ethereum that makes Ethereum so popular and highly valued. Hi, in the last video I talked about what is a blockchain, and then I talked about what is Ethereum, and then I said Ethereum is a platform for running smart contracts and decentralized applications. Now in this video here, I'm going to talk about what is a smart contract, and we're going to look at what makes a smart contract to be called a smart contract. We're going to look at the characteristics of a smart contract, and then we're going to see how it's applicable to Ethereum. Now, what is a smart contract? A smart contract is an agreement between two or more people in form of a computer code. Now, from the word smart in contract, a contract is actually an agreement between two people that want to go into a business venture. But now, if this agreement is being codified and is being run by computer codes, it can be called a smart contract. The term smart contract is applicable to blockchain because these smart contracts, these codes are self-executing. They run by themselves when some certain conditions are met. So a smart contract is an agreement between two or more people in form of a computer code. So let's take, for example, you want to go into a business venture with someone, Basically, normally what you do first is you get a lawyer, you engage a lawyer, and then you enter an agreement, and your lawyer and business partner's lawyer, you have a document that both of you will sign, and then the lawyers will be there to act as enforcers to the contract. But now, if this agreement is now stored on the computer, the lawyers will be eliminated from the chain, and then computers will now replace that. So a smart contract, it's actually a business arrangement or agreement between two people that will be stored on the computer code. Now, smart contract transactions are being processed by the blockchain technology. Since the blockchain technology is decentralized, and is not truly governed or owned by one single entity, it makes the smart contracts to be just, and it makes the smart contracts to be untamperable, so you can tamper with it. So what you feed in is what you will get. So because of the immutability nature of blockchain, and the fact that the blockchain is permanently secured, it makes smart contracts transaction to be trusted by people. So smart contract transactions are being processed by the blockchain technology. Then smart contract transactions only happens when the agreement conditions are met. So they are self-executing. The transactions only happen when certain conditions that in the agreement are met. For example, there could be a smart contract that says by the end of this month, on the 31st of this month, 10 Ether should be transferred from A account to B based on the conditions that B fulfills a certain kind of requirements. Else, if that requirement is not fulfilled, then that 10 Ether will be refunded back into A's account. So when this smart contract is written, for example, that 10 Ether could be deposited into an escrow account. Now the escrow could be the smart contract itself. So, and then since the transaction happens only when certain conditions are met, at the end of this month, at the 31st of this month, that smart contract will run and check, okay, are these conditions met? If they are met, then it will transfer the 10 Ether to B's account. Else, it will revert the Ether back to A's account. So this makes the smart contracts to be self-executing. You don't need any human intermediaries to the smart contract. Once the time or the conditions are met, the smart contracts just run by themselves. So the smart contracts are self-executing, and they happen only when the agreement conditions are met. Then smart contract is a blockchain technology that will replace lawyers and other middlemen or intermediaries. So like I said in the beginning, you're going into a business venture. Of course, you need a lawyer, you need an accountant, you need a lot of middlemen to be able to check and balance all the necessary requirements that you will need to go into a business venture with someone. Now with the blockchain technology, these middlemen will be completely replaced or will be reduced significantly, because the blockchain technology, the smart contract in the blockchain technology, these rules in the blockchain, in the smart contract, will actually replace these lawyers, because these are codes that are these are agreements that will be written in codes and be stored on the blockchain. So this makes it to be very, very easy to be trusted, and then it also make the system to be just, because with humans comes the issue of trust. So if humans are involved in a business relationship, if a lot of chains of humans are involved in a business relationship, of course there will be issue of trust, because you will have to trust each and every entity that is part of the system. And of course humans can be compromised, humans can be bribed, humans can be threatened, and stuffs like that. But you can threaten a machine, and you can. So that's that. So it's going to reduce corruption and replace lawyers and other intermediaries in the chain. For example, let's look at a smart contract, a voting kind of smart contract, for example, where imagine a system where people can vote for their choice of a candidate, without government agencies like the electoral bodies acting as intermediaries. Imagine a smart contract that is being written where people can vote with, let's say, a kind of token, where you own token, and then with just that one token, you could decide to you could vote for your candidates, and the smart contract gets to count all the votes at the end of the day, which is going to be in real time, and then you get to see who is the winner. So that way it makes the voting process to be transparent. There are numerous examples of smart contract actually, but this is just a simple example. Then smart contracts help you exchange money, property rights, shares, and anything of value. Property rights, voting rights, money, cryptocurrency, different kind of, even fiat currency. You could actually write smart contracts that could help you exchange that. And then anything of value, intellectual properties, just any kind of property, physical properties, voting rights, intellectual properties, share allocation in a company, equities, and all that can actually be exchanged via the smart contract. So that is one attribute of what makes a smart contract to be a smart contract. So the smart contract is it's being supported by the Ethereum blockchain, and then it's one Ethereum that gives it value, credibility, and strength that it has today. And then of course, since we're talking about creating and managing an Ethereum name service, it's a smart contract that will be written to actually create and manage your Ethereum name service, in which that is the purpose of this course. So smart contract is going to be very, very important in our everyday life as the world is advancing in blockchain. So we are in the nearest future, hopefully we're going to see a lot of amazing applications that will come out, amazing applications that people will develop, and they are all going to leverage on the power of smart contracts. So it's an amazing aspect of the Ethereum that is worth looking at. So that is that. So if you want to be a smart contract developer, you can watch my video how to create an Ethereum based smart contract. I talked a lot about smart contract and how to program the smart contract. You could you have to learn the programming language, the de facto programming language that will help you start creating your own smart contract. The programming language is called Solidity, and then of course you also have to learn Web3 and all the other integration languages that you will need to be able to create a smart contract and a decentralized application. So once you hear that an application is decentralized, a DApp, then you should know that yes, that application is being powered by smart contracts. That's just it. So the application is being powered by smart contract. So that is that about the smart contract, and then of course I talked about what is. Hi, welcome to the first session of this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. My name is Ayuba Moazu, and first in this first session we're going to walk through some definitions and concepts before we dive into creating and managing an Ethereum name service. In this session here, we're going to define what is a domain name server. We're going to look at what is an Ethereum name service, and then at the end of this session here, we're going to discuss the difference between the DNS and the ENS, as the domain name server and the Ethereum name services. So first of all, I'm going to start with what is a domain name server. Now, the domain name server, of course, I'm going to start with what is a domain name server, and then I'm going to define what is a domain name, how the domain name works, and how is domain name different from web hosting, and then how to choose a domain name for your website, and how to buy a domain name. It's necessary you understand all this before we go into what is an Ethereum name service. So that's how we're going to start here. So first of all, I will start with what is a domain name. Now, the domain name is the address of your website that people type in the browser URL to visit your website. So the domain name is like it's like a phone book, you know. It's like the internet phone book. That is just it. You know, in your phone book you write different phone numbers of different people. So and each of the phone number actually refers to one of your contacts. So the domain name is actually is just like the phone numbers that you have that directs you to a particular person. So if you look at this definition here, I said domain name is the address of your website that people type in the browser URL bar to visit your website. That is what the domain name is. So it's actually just a human readable name that is different from what the computer reads. So domain name server are the internet equivalent of a phone book. Yes, just like I said, they maintain a directory of domain names and translate them to IP addresses. So the domain name server are the equivalent, of course, to the phone book. So a domain name server keeps all the domain names, keeps different domain names, store different domain names in that particular server. So it maintains a directory of different domain names and translate them to IP addresses, because the IP addresses is what the computer understands, but humans cannot really remember the IP addresses because it's just a long. So humans can easily understand words and not numbers, but computers easily understand numbers. So that is what a domain name server is. Basically, you just think of a domain name server as the internet equivalent of a phone book. So it's like a computer system that maintains a directory of different domain names. And then I told you the domain name is the address, just like your phone number or your house address is the address of your website that people type in the browser URL to visit your website. So how does the domain name works? Now look at this diagram here. This is a computer, you know, that needs to go to a particular address. Let's say, okay, this computer is requesting I need directions to this domain name here, google.com. So how it works is this computer sends a request to a domain name server, and then this domain name server checks its database whether this domain name here is available, google.com. So the domain name www.google.com is checked on this domain name server, and then this computer will say, okay, this domain name is not in my database or cache, I'll try another domain name server. So this domain name server also sends another request to the nearest domain name server to check whether this domain name that is being requested by this computer is available. Eventually this request keeps on going like that until it gets to a domain name server that's, you know, cache this domain name. So let's say eventually this is the domain name server and say, okay, yeah, that's in my cache, it maps to this IP address, because that's how the computers understand, that's how they communicate via IP addresses. So if that is if this IP address, which represents this domain name here, is found in this domain name server. And of course, that's great. The computer will now cache that and then store that in its directory in case if more requests will come in from another computer requesting for that domain name, for that address. So and then that's it. So the computer gets the information and then gets to visit the website and download all the stuffs that needs to be downloaded. So that's how the domain name works. Actually, basically that's just how the domain name works. And then like I said, the domain name servers are different servers that are being controlled by different companies. So there's actually a difference between a domain name server and a web host. So how is domain name different from web hosting? Actually, if domain name is the address of your website, then web hosting is the home where your website lives. So let's say domain name is the address. It's like just like the address to your house, and then the web hosting is the home where your website lives. It's where your website, the files of your website reside. They reside in the web host in a particular different computer, while the domain name, the addresses, the list of addresses, also residing on the different computer. So to create your website, you need both domain name and web hosting. So for people to actually really access your website, they need to know both your domain name and they need to know your domain name, and then of course they need to get direction to where the files are being hosted. So how to choose a domain name for your website? You can choose a different kinds of domain name that we have available. There are whole lots of them. We have the .com for commercial websites and businesses. We have .org for organizational websites and NGOs. We have .gov for government website. We have .tv for video websites. We have .ng for websites that are Nigerian specific. We have .uk for websites that are UK specific, and then we have whole lots of domain name extensions so you just choose. If you are choosing a domain name, you look at your form of business, the nature of your business or the nature of your organization, and then you decide which domain name to choose. So that's just how easy it is. And like I said, the domain name service is actually different from the web hosting service, although some companies do run both services concurrently. They run the domain name service and the web hosting services, but they're actually two different services, and then they are hosted basically on two different web servers. So how to buy a domain name? Of course, like I said, there are different companies that do the services for you. We have companies like GoDaddy, Namecheap, Mochahost, Bluehost. There are many of them, so you can search over the internet to see different companies that carry out the services of domain name. So you can, and most of them actually you can buy domain name services from the place, and then web hosting services. So that's just what a domain name is, and then what a domain name server is. Thank you. Hi, welcome to this session on this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. In the last session, actually, I talked about DNS, domain name server, and then what is a DNS, and then of course how you can register a domain name, and then the different web hosting companies that you can register your domain name with, and then how the domain name server works, and then the difference between a domain name actually and domain name server. And I said the domain name is like your address, your website address, that the different domain name servers own a copy of. So that is what a domain name is. And then the domain name server, it's like a database that holds the record of all domain names. So that is what it means. Now, but in this video session here, I'm going to talk about what is Ethereum Name Service, and then we're going to see the differences between the DNS and then the ENS. Now, the Ethereum Name Service is like decentralizing the domain name server. Now, instead of a singular database that owns a copy of all the domain names, rather in the ENS, the database will now be decentralized, on different computing nodes, or will be distributed on different computing nodes that join the Ethereum network. So what it means is in the ENS, all domain names, let me use that word, will now be owned. The copy of all domain names will now be owned by that join the Ethereum network. It's the technology of the blockchain, and then it's actually showing how the blockchain will impact. It's one of the applications of the blockchain, and it's actually showing how the blockchain will impact in our everyday life and business activities. So what I'm saying here is actually in the Ethereum, we don't have domain names. Actually, we have addresses. We have addresses. For example, a long string like this, a hexadecimal long string like this, could be my Ethereum address, and then I can send it to my friend or to my business associates or to my customers to send me Ether. So, but now sending in that long address, it's it's not really very cool, and then it's not really very nice. What if we could have a way that we could a human readable way that we can actually convert this long hexadecimal address into a human readable way that we can send to people? It would be cool that way. So the Ethereum Name Service allow anyone to access information in a decentralized manner while still using easily readable names. So for example, a long string like this can actually be converted to my name, ayuba.eth. So that's one of the functions of the Ethereum Name Service. So it's almost synonymous to DNS, because what the domain name server does is it actually keeps a copy of all the IP addresses, and then with their equivalent domain name. So the domain name, like for example Google, www.google.com, it's the domain name, but inherently behind what is happening is the Google has an IP address. So it's that IP address that the computer can read. So, but humans can read google.com. So it's the same thing, the same analogy here with the ENS. So with the ENS, your Ethereum address, your externally owned Ethereum address or your smart contract address can now be converted into an easily readable names that you can send to people. So with this, the ENS eliminates the need to copy or type long addresses. So there is no need for me to copy that long address to be able to send to my business associates, customers, and friends to send me Ether. So it's actually much more easier to convert this into a readable names. So it eliminates the need to copy or type long addresses, and then with the ENS you'll be able to send money to your friends at something like this, ayuba.eth for example, or steve.eth, or mike.eth, or bob.eth. So you can just create your own and this is something that anybody can do, as long as you have the right tools like MetaMask and the rest. You can actually do this. You can actually just create a domain name for yourself or for your business or for your smart contract, because with the ENS you can actually interact with your favorite contract. For example, at my contract.eth, for example, let's say I create an application called, I created the app or a smart contract that will enable people to just be able to send me money, for instance, for my business. So I can actually deploy that. When I deploy that smart contract, I can actually give it a name, for example, let's say my business.eth, and then send it to people. So instead of people interacting with my smart contract via this long address, they will actually interact via the business name or any name that you gave it .eth, or a Swarm hosted site. You can actually host your site on Swarm. That's another whole lot of new different topic that I'm going to talk about in subsequent videos. So that is what the Ethereum Name Service is. Basically, it's just it's like decentralizing the domain name server, where anyone where that allows anyone to access information in a decentralized way, while still using readable names. So that is what the Ethereum name service is. And then it's quite different from the DNS, because in a DNS, when a computer makes a request, it goes to a particular first of all, it goes to a particular server, and then a particular domain name server, and checks the list of all domain names that are actually hosted on that server. So if the domain name it's looking for is not there, that domain name server will also send the request to another server, and the same process is is continuously repeated until we get to the domain name that we get to the domain name server that actually holds the domain name, and then before we can now be redirected to the hosting site, to the hosting web server, to be able to view files and content. But with the Ethereum name service, actually different. Everything is happening in a decentralized manner, because so the nearest peer to you will be where you can get, because every computing node owns a copy, a full copy, or owns a copy of all the transactions that's ever happened on the blockchain. So it means every full node owns a list of all the Ethereum addresses. So whether it's a smart contract, whether it's an externally owned address, nodes own a full copy of that. So if you're requesting for an address, for an Ethereum address, and then with the ENS, you're requesting for it through a readable name like this, it's very easy, and then you can actually retrieve your information fast. And of course, this eliminates a lot of security issues that we have with DNS today, because since the DNS is actually being controlled by a centralized server, it comes with a whole lot of security issues. So with the ENS, we're actually eliminating all those issues, and then making everything to be more secure and easily readable. So that is that about Ethereum name service. And then next I'm going to discuss the differences between the DNS and the ENS, although I've touched it here. But next I'm going to discuss what's the difference between the ENS and then the Ethereum name service, and then the domain name server, and then we get to see why the Ethereum name service supersedes the DNS, and why it's the next big thing that will happen to the internet. Thank you. Hi, in the last video, in the last two videos, I talked about what is a DNS, a domain name server, and then I also talked about what is an ENS, an Ethereum name service, and then we got to see the two concepts and how they work. And then we know that the DNS, the domain name server, is like an address book on the internet that stores list of all domain names, while the ENS is like an address book that store all Ethereum addresses on the blockchain, in which both concepts can actually be easily read through readable format that humans can easily understand, and can also be easily read by the computers through computers format that computers can understand. So now, in this video here, I'm going to talk about the differences between the ENS and the DNS, and then I'm going to talk about security concerns and why the ENS is much more preferable than the domain name server. So now, the domain name server basically is for storing domain names, while the Ethereum name service is for storing Ethereum addresses. Now, you store domain names, which are actually IP addresses that are converted into readable names. That's what the ENS does. But the ENS, you store Ethereum addresses which are actually easily readable by converting them into a human readable text that we can read. So the ENS actually works on Ethereum, on the blockchain, while the domain name server works on the traditional central database system that we have. Now, DNS works in a centralized fashion, while the ENS works in a decentralized manner. So with the DNS, there is a central point of control or failure, because data is collected, the domain names are collected centrally on different servers in the world. While on in the ENS, these domain names are actually distributed. They're actually decentralized. They are not actually controlled by any single organization or any single entity. So that's one of the difference between the DNS and the ENS. So in terms of the ENS, basically works on the blockchain because it works in a decentralized manner. It works on Ethereum, and Ethereum works on the blockchain. But with the DNS, it doesn't work on the blockchain. It works in a centralized fashion that is actually being controlled by organizations, governments, and different entities per se. So the DNS will point users. One of the functions of the DNS is it will point users to the web server that holds the hosted files. So that's one of the functions of the DNS. It will point the user. For example, if I go to www.google.com, it will the DNS there, the IP address of Google will actually point me to the web server where the files, the Google files, are located. While the ENS will point users to Ethereum addresses where they can send money or interact with a decentralized application, or interact with a smart contract rather. So with the ENS will point users to Ethereum addresses. And then of course, in the Ethereum addresses, we have two kinds of Ethereum addresses. We have the externally owned address, and then we have the smart contract address. So if the ENS points you to a smart contract address, then of course you know that you are going to interact with a DApp, a decentralized app, in that manner. But if it points you to just an externally owned address, so possibly you might be sending in some Ether for a business transaction, or to a friend, or whatever. But so that's that. So if you want to learn about how to create your own DApps, you can watch my video on how to create a smart contract and deploy it on the Ethereum blockchain, and how to also interact with a smart contract via a decentralized application. I talked about decentralized application all in that video tutorial. Now, the DNS introduced data monarchy, while the ENS introduces data democracy. Because of the central point of control or failure, it makes the DNS to be centrally controlled by organizations, by entities, by governments, by different kind of organizations. While in the ENS, it introduces data democracy, because the data here, the database here is not actually owned by any entity. It's not actually centralized, it's decentralized. So different computing nodes that join the network owns a full copy of all the Ethereum addresses. So it makes this to be decentralized, and then it's a kind of peer-to-peer interaction between nodes. So this introduces a kind of data democracy, where you own your data privately, but it's being managed publicly. Now, the DNS is vulnerable to different kinds of hijacking and denial of service attacks. That is a popular statement that we know today. We know that DNS is vulnerable, and is vulnerable to different kinds of attacks: hijacking, denial of service, distributed denial of service, and different kinds of attacks that we see today. It's because of the central way we store information, we store data today, the centralized way we store data today. So storing domain names centrally, of course, has this vulnerability, while the ENS runs on the blockchain and is permanently secured. So since the Ethereum Name Service runs on the blockchain, it's permanently secured. There is no hijacking. You can't hijack it because it's not running on one single computer. And then there is no denial of service attacks, because the Ethereum virtual machine, it's being managed by different computing nodes all around the world. So you can't you can deny the service. You have 100% uptime. That's what it means. So in terms of vulnerability, there is a huge difference between domain name server and the Ethereum name service. Then the Ethereum name service operates in a distributed fashion, of course, for both its infrastructure and governance. Anyone can register a .eth domain name for themselves by participating in an auction process mediated by the blockchain. So in fact, the process of even buying an Ethereum service, an Ethereum name service, is different from the way we buy the domain names today. So we buy Ethereum name service basically through auction processes, and then since it's distributed and then it's not being controlled by any government or any organization, so it's distributed both in its infrastructure and governance. So it's publicly managed. That's just what it means. It's publicly managed, and then its infrastructure, of course, is also publicly managed. So that's a very huge advantage that the Ethereum Name Service has over the domain name server. So these are just the differences between the ENS and the DNS, and then this is what it means to look at the two sides of the coins between the ENS and then DNS to get to decide which one has more advantage than the other. So in these video tutorials, I talked about what is a domain name. In this video series here, the session 1 of this video series, I talked about what is a domain name, and then we discussed what is a domain name server, and then we discussed how you can, you know, buy your domain names and everything. And then I also discussed what is an Ethereum name service, and then now I talked about the differences between the Ethereum name service and the domain name server. So in the next video, we're just going to look at some few applications of the Ethereum name service and how they're applicable to our everyday life, and how it will be easy for us to use the Ethereum name service to be able to move money around and interact with smart contracts and different kinds of rules that we codify into the computer to carry out some business instructions. Thank you. Hi, welcome to the session 2 on this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. My name is Ayuba Muazu, and in this session here, I'm just going to talk about some basic and few applications of the Ethereum name service. And then, if you could remember, in the last session, I discussed heavily on DNS, domain name server, domain names, and then I also discussed on the ENS itself. And then I talked about domain names, that they are readable names. They are readable names. I talked about domain names as human readable names, that's IP addresses that are actually converted to human readable names. It's basically the IP addresses are understood by the computer, and human readable names are easily understood by humans. So for example, if I have an IP address 1.8.25. something like that, it can be converted to a human readable name like www.google.com that people can get to use. And then I described the domain name server as a kind of database that keep a list of all domain names that have been registered on it. So it's like a phone book that keep is synonymous to like the phone book of the internet actually. So it keeps a list of all the addresses and the domain names of different websites. So that's what the domain name server is. And then I also told you that the domain name server runs in the client server architecture that the world is known with today, where the domain name server centrally collects or manage these records. And this has a huge disadvantage in regards to different kind of vulnerability attacks that will come on the domain name server, that people can actually attack and do some damage to domain name servers. We have different kind of attacks in which I talked about them, talked about the DDoS attack and different kinds of attack. And then I also introduced you to Ethereum name service as a kind of which has the same goal with domain name server actually, but differently run, because the ENS is run on the blockchain, on the Ethereum blockchain, and it keeps a list of all the addresses, of all the Ethereum addresses in a decentralized fashion. And then people can also, and it converts these Ethereum addresses into human into human readable names. So for instance, if I have an address 0x9 blah blah blah, a long hexadecimal string of Ethereum address, it can actually be converted to a human readable name. For example, I can use my name ayuba.eth, for instance, and then I can send you the address for you to make payments for me into it. Now in this session here, I'm going to talk about the applications of ENS just briefly, so that we get to know what it is. And then of course, if you have the human readable names of a long hexadecimal string of Ethereum address, you can actually manage the name. And then with the ENS, you can actually create a name. Okay, you can actually create and manage a name, and then you can auction that name for sale. So once you create a name, you can also, once you create .eth names, you can also create subdomains for that, and then you can actually also manage the subdomain names for that. So those are basically the applications of the Ethereum Name Service. You can create and then you can manage a name, and then you can also auction the name. So it's actually it's still it's the ENS is still relatively new. It has not become extremely popular yet, and the team is working heavily on making it popular, updating changes, making changes, and we're trying to make the whole ENS to become much more valuable to our lives, since interacting with the blockchain through long string of hexadecimal string is very difficult. So ENS, it's coming in at the right time, and it's something that we should dive into. So basically these are just the applications of ENS for now. And then of course, I say you can also write a smart contract, and then your smart contract address can be converted into a human readable name, and then you can actually also program that using Web3. You can program that, you can add subdomains, you can create the top level domains, you can transfer the names to different kind of address to manage, and a whole lot of other things you can actually do once you program your smart contracts to carry out that, to get that you program your smart contract address to a human readable name. So that is that. So your smart contract, and of course, if your smart contract address is converted into a human readable name, so it will make access to your smart contract easy, to make interacting with your smart contract easy. For example, I can just create my contract.eth as a human readable name, and then different kind of apps that are calling my smart contract can actually use that human readable name instead of the long hexadecimal string that we are familiar with today. And of course, like I said, even your externally owned account, which is your own Ethereum account that is not a smart contract address, you can also convert it to a human readable name using the ENS service, and then you can send it to people to make payments for you, and just everything. So it has this application of giving your business credibility. For example, if I run a restaurant, for instance, and let's say the name of the restaurant is called My Foods Restaurant, and I want to be paid in cryptocurrency, I have an Ethereum address. If I decide to buy a name for it, if I decide to get a name for it, let's say myfood.eth, it gives this credibility and trust to my customers. They know that yes, they are actually paying into the right address, because the name is somehow synonymous to my business. So it creates in a certain way, it creates trust for people, it creates trust for your business, it creates credibility for your business. And then it's almost the same like the vanity address that Bitcoin has, because if your business name is attached to your to your Ethereum address, there is that credibility, there is that trust that people can get to see. And people cannot just like the way we see in ICOs today, people can change the information of ICOs, hack into the website, and then change the ICO address by giving in a different Ethereum address, and then they divert people's funds from the ICO into their own Ethereum address. So ENS is going to stop that. For example, if you're running an ICO and then you create a name for it for your ICO, and then you create a name for it using the Ethereum Name Service, people know that, okay, yes, this is the name of the ICO, and then this is the address they are paying to. So it's in a way, it's make people to trust your business venture or your ICO, and then it will also be very, very difficult for another person to present another different Ethereum address, just like the way we see happening today. So people cannot just easily present another Ethereum address and say, okay, this is the account that you need to send in your Ether during crowdfunding. So it's very beneficial. It's very, very beneficial to upcoming businesses that want to receive payments in cryptocurrencies. So those are just the few basic applications of the Ethereum Name Service. And of course, like I told you, it's still somehow relatively new, and the whole team is working feverishly to make sure that ENS is much more valuable in the near future. So thank you. Hi, welcome to the third session on this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum Name Service, ENS. My name is Ayuba Moazu. And in this session here, I'm going to walk you through the prerequisites for buying Ethereum Name Service. So basically, I'm going to talk about the tools that you need to be able to buy Ethereum Name Service for yourself and use it for either your smart contract or for your externally owned address. So basically, I'm going to talk about the tools needed to buy ENS, and then I'm going to talk about one of the most important tools, which is MetaMask. So first of all, what are the tools that you need to buy an Ethereum Name Service? Well, you need a web browser that supports MetaMask, and currently the web browsers that support MetaMask are Google Chrome, Firefox, and then the Brave browser. So these are basically the browsers currently that supports MetaMask. And then browsers like Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge do not support MetaMask for now, I believe. So once you have this browser, and then of course we can purchase our ENS from we can buy a name for ourselves on the ENS website, which I'll come to that later. But first of all, let me discuss what MetaMask is and why it's very important at this stage to know what MetaMask is and how we're going to use it. So what is MetaMask? MetaMask is a bridge that allows you to visit the distributed web of tomorrow in your browser today. MetaMask allows you to run Ethereum dApps right in your browser without running a full Ethereum node. So what this means is you don't need to download the whole copy of the blockchain to be able to interact with the apps. So MetaMask allows you to run Ethereum dApps right in your browser without having this full copy of the entire blockchain, without downloading the full copy of the entire blockchain. And the MetaMask includes a secure identity vault because it's a wallet, and it provides a user interface to manage your identities on different sites. So it's a wallet that allows you to manage your identity on different dApps, different decentralized applications that you visit, and it also allows you to sign blockchain transactions. It's not all blockchain transaction that you spend Ether. In some transaction, you just sign the transaction to verify your identity when interacting with some certain decentralized application. So you can install MetaMask add-on in Chrome, Firefox, Opera, and then of course the new Brave browser. Yes, MetaMask supports Opera, Google Chrome, and Firefox. And then if you're a developer, you can start developing with MetaMask today. You know, if you could remember, I talked about Web3, and I talked about how the internet started from 1.0 to Web 2.0, which is currently the client-server architecture that we're used to. And then now the world is heading into Web 3, which is the future actually, which is different from the client-server architecture that we're used to. Web 3, it's a different kind of computing, computing that runs on the blockchain. So it's another different topic that we'll talk about in other videos. So if you're a developer, you can start developing with MetaMask today. So how do you install MetaMask? It's very easy because MetaMask is an add-on that you can add to your web browser. So first and first, you go to your website www.metamask.io, which is this. You can just get to this website. Make sure it's HTTPS because currently there has been some kind of attack, replay attacks actually, that occurs on MetaMask. So first of all, make sure that you HTTPS, and then make sure that you trust the apps that you're interacting with, more especially if it's asking you to sign a transaction or to spend Ether. So make sure that you trust the apps that you're running with. Then of course you can see as I'm moving my mouse, this little guy here is following. So MetaMask, like it said here, brings Ethereum to your browser because you can now interact with the blockchain via MetaMask in an easier way through your browser. So if you don't have MetaMask installed, you can come here. I'm using Google Chrome, so you can come here and click Chrome extension, and then it take us to where we can install MetaMask. First of all, let's just scroll down and get to see what MetaMask is all about. So you can see it supports this browser, Brave browser, Firefox. And then if you look at about MetaMask, so just the same thing with what I said. And here they have a mission statement here. Our mission is to make Ethereum as easy to use for as many people as possible. Of course, MetaMask it's very easy to use. And then you can click here to watch their video tutorials and get to know more about MetaMask. Here is it, explore Ethereum DApps, state of the apps. Yes, there's another website called state of the apps that you can click and you can submit your apps there. Submitted like 1 or 2 apps there. And of course MetaMask is built by these guys, these amazing guys, Komovis, Danfile. These are blockchain experts here. So these are the guys that make MetaMask useful and possible today. So this is the website. You can just go through and then just peruse through the website and get to see how it is. So first of all, since we're installing MetaMask on our browser, we just go right here and click here. Since you see get Chrome extension. If you're using Opera, a different kind of browser, Firefox, for instance, you can click this or this if you have the Brave browser. Now with the Brave browser, MetaMask comes in pre-installed, so it has that advantage. But since we're using Chrome, let's just click this. So this will take us to the page that we should be able to add the MetaMask add-on to our browser. So I'll just walk you through it so that you get to see how this is very important in our in buying and in creating and managing our Ethereum name service, our Ethereum name. So let's just wait for it a little bit so it comes up and then we get to see. So yes, now you can see here we are at the Chrome Web Store, and then we should be able to see the add-on very soon as it's loading here, so that we can add this. I actually added it before. I just removed it just for the purpose of this tutorial, so that you get to see how everything works. So I just want to walk you through this so that you see how everything works. So good. Now you can see well, we have 1 million users. That's nice. million plus users of MetaMask currently. And then, like I said, make sure it's https metamask.io. So while this loads, good. So it's virtually almost the same thing with the website. This is Google Chrome Web Store. So you can also scroll down to read. You can see the overview, reviews, check people's review, support, and you can ask your questions regarding MetaMask and any observation that you deem fit. So that is that here. So we're just going right ahead to click and add this to our Chrome Web Store, but I think that the internet is kind of slow, or the browser is hanging, so let me just wait a little bit and see how it goes. Okay. Oh, I think the browser is hanging a little bit, so let's just wait. Okay, yes, I see. Let's click here to wait, no problem. This is just a minor issue. The browser is not responsive. I just have to wait a little bit. Of course, if you have a faster and a stronger internet connection than mine, it's going to be easier for you to get this running than me. So just have to keep on hitting this button. You can wait for it to become responsive or exit the page. Now let's just wait. Let's just click and wait a little bit. So I know it's going to be responsive again, so let's just wait and see how it goes. Oh, it's unresponsive again. So sorry, this is just kind of unresponsive. Maybe I have to refresh this probably. Click and see. So what I'm going to do is just refresh this page again. So wait for it to load. Probably the internet connection and my browser, it's the issue here. So let's just wait and see. Okay. So let's just wait a little bit. Okay, it's now trying to load this YouTube video and everything. Okay, so I'm just coming back here. This page is quite active. I think there should be some JavaScript issues, you know. Okay, I think I just need to close this page and redo it again. Since that page is not responsive, so I just click here again and then Hopefully we should have it responsive now. Like I said, if your browser is it's much more I think I need to update my browser. Probably that's where the issue is coming from. Okay, I hope it comes up and becomes smoother now. So like I said, make sure it's HTTPS, because it's very, very important that it's HTTPS. So wait for this. Okay. So I wait for it to become fully loaded and responsive. I'm just waiting for this icon to finish running. Okay, putting my mouse around to see if it's going to change. So you just go right ahead and click add to Chrome. The issue now is the responsive nature of this. Oh, this is a hell of a thing. Just click exit page. Something went wrong. Of course something went wrong. So the issue now is the unresponsive nature of this page, and I know this basically it's because of my browser. That's why. So let's just wait a little bit and see. Oh, this is crazy. Okay, I hope this should be better now. Okay, why don't I just go here and okay, I hope this should be better now. So as I can see, so you just go right ahead and click add to Chrome. So yes, you can see it can add MetaMask. It can read changes in your data and website you visit. You can read and change all your data on the website you visit, display notification, communicate with cooperating website, modify data you copy and paste, of course. So let's just go right ahead and add this to Chrome. So MetaMask is lightweight, it's not heavy, so it should be able to add this to our Chrome browser, and if everything is successful, I'm just going to see that little icon. So it's downloading currently. You can see it here. So let's just wait and see. So once it downloads MetaMask and add it to our Chrome web browser, then we're going to see the little icon somewhere around here, and we should be able to start interacting with decentralized applications like the ENS itself. So let's just get to see. Like I said, if you have a faster internet connection, it's going to be far much more better than mine. So it's downloading, like I said. So let's just wait patiently for it. So like I said, make sure it's https metamask.io. You can click here to see reviews and people's view on MetaMask and what people think about it. And then of course you can scroll down to read more. And then okay, you can see websites version 4.13. Look at what it says here. MetaMask is an extension for accessing Ethereum enabled distributed application or DApps in your normal Chrome browser. The extension injects Ethereum Web3 API into every website JavaScript context, so website can read from the blockchain. So I said something about Web3, and then I said the world is moving into Web3. Currently we started from Web 1.0 to 2.0. Now we are moving into Web3, which is an extension that it's an API actually that's will enable decentralized applications to read the blockchain, to interact with the blockchain. So if you can see here, so you can just read here to see, and then you can view the source code of course on GitHub, the source code of MetaMask on GitHub. If you're a programmer, you can get to read there. I think the internet is quite slow because MetaMask is about 7 MB, and then you can see I'm just downloading 3.7 MB here, so it's quite slow, so you have to forgive me on that. Anyway, if you're viewing this video and you have a faster internet connection, then it's going to be easier for you. Okay, so let's just wait patiently. I have 3.9 MB here. Just checking the internet connection to see if I can make it faster. an error, so called download interrupted. Oh, this has to reload again. This is a big problem. So just go right ahead and click this. I hope I get this faster. Can I reload this? I'll resume this and click. Okay, it's resuming. I hope I get it faster this time around. Because I know this it's going to show unresponsive again. That I'm sure of. So let's just wait for this to get added and then we proceed from there. It's just unfortunate that this is downloading extremely slow. Okay, I think the network might be coming up. Oh, 2.1 MB. Oh, it's just slow. Let me give you some time, and you can pause the video and wait until I have this running before you can continue. This is dead slow. So if you have a faster internet connection, then probably you will have this running better than mine. So like I said, you can pause the video until this gets downloaded before you can continue. But my internet here is extremely slow. This is just to download 7 MB, and it's as slow as crazy, man. Okay, 5 MB. I'm still moving forward. Extremely slow. In MetaMask about 7 MB, so let's just have to wait. So we're moving slowly, extremely slow. Let's see the outcome of this. Okay, 7.1. We're heading close, so very soon. Very soon we should get to 7.4. Really slow internet here. Heartbreaking. Okay, so I think it's downloaded, so it's adding to Chrome right now, so we'll just wait a little bit, not much this time I believe, so that we can get to see the little icon somewhere around here. Of course, if MetaMask is added, I'm supposed to see it now. I'm just checking my extensions. Okay, these are different extensions I have. Here is MetaMask. I just downloaded everything. Oh, this is crazy. I can't go through. Okay, it's faster now, but why did we have that problem? So I believe it should add now, and sorry for my internet connection. That's just the only thing I just need to say at this point. This has to do with my internet connection, so I believe after this goes, we should be able to see the icon. Okay, good. Now we have MetaMask here. Like I said, if you have a faster internet connection, this will be as seamless and as easy for you than me. So we just click this little guy here to get to see. Okay, this will take you to a page on how it works. You can read all about it, which is the same with the first page. We don't need this, so let's just click. Let's close this guy. Let's also close this. So currently we're interested in this now. So you click here and then you wait for it to come up. Like I said, it all depends on your internet connection. It's just so crazy around here. So if this comes up, then okay, so you can read all about it. There's a new version of MetaMask you can read, but just read all about it. Better token support, better gas controls, new confirmation screen and all that. But we're not ready to try the new version of MetaMask, so let's just go and click here. So that we get the old version, and then we proceed to our agreement. And you read the agreement here. Just read the agreement. It talks about all the acceptance and terms of use. You can read it, and then of course some security issues that you should be able to know before using MetaMask. So, and then let's just go and click accept. So of course you can read all this too. When you log into MetaMask, your account your current account address is visible to every new site you visit. This can be used to look up your account balance of ETH and other tokens. For your privacy for now, please sign out of MetaMask when you're done using a site. Yes, this is very important, very important. So let's just go right and accept this, and then okay. Now I think here is a warning about phishing. Some website that has been reported that has been attacked based on phishing. So you can just read this too, and let's just accept. These are just all security issues that MetaMask is just allowing you to know. So here we are going to create a new password. So you can just create a new password, minimum of 8 characters for yourself, and then or you can export. If you click export here, if you've used MetaMask before, you can click export, and then a 12 seed number that you have before, you can insert it and then go to your account. But since we're creating a new account, let's just say we create a new password for ourselves. So let's see, here's my password. So good. So now I have MetaMask add-on installed. So we're going to use MetaMask to be able to purchase an Ethereum name service, like purchase a domain name, for instance, for our Ethereum Now here, look at here what it says here. These 12 words are the only way to restore your MetaMask account. Save them somewhere safe and secret. So I know I'm going to delete this account, so that's why you get to see this. So this is very important. If you lose your password, in case you lost your password in MetaMask, you can sign in again. This is the only way you could recover your password. So if you lose this, then I'm sorry. And you have Ether in it, then I'm sorry, you've lost it forever. So you can see I've copied it, saved somewhere, or you can save the seed world as a file. So let's say I copied this and it's saved somewhere. So let's just go right here. I've copied it, saved somewhere, and good. So you can see my account has been created. This is the account name. I can edit it and give it a name. There is no Ether in it, and then look at here the network. There are different kinds of network on MetaMask. The main network is where the real Ether resides, and all these other ones are test network, like Robston test network, Covan test network, and Rinkeby test network. Now all these test network actually are for development purposes. Like in my video how to create an Ethereum based smart contract, we talked about this very well, but real Ether exists here in the main Ethereum network. So that's that. And then of course you can also click here to you can click here to copy your address and send it to your friend, which will be a long string of address, but we don't want to use that. We're creating an Ethereum name service. And then of course you can just peruse through. You can click here to see you can create a new account, or you can import an existing account that you have. And then of course you can buy Ether. When you click here, you send you can click here and send you can buy Ether by copying your Ethereum address, or you can click and send Ether to somebody, a friend or a business partner. And then when you click on tokens, you can, if you've participated in an ICO or you've created your own token, you can click here and add your token address. So that's that about MetaMask. So we're going to come more on this when we're buying our Ethereum name service in the next series of videos. So this is just it about MetaMask, and then you just stay right here with me in the next video. So sorry for the internet connection, that was slow. Now it's better. So that is that about this. Thank you. Welcome to session 4 in this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. My name is Ayuba Muazu, and in this session here I'm still going to continue with some explanation. Like I'm going to talk about what is a name auction and how does it work. Basically I'm going to discuss domain name auction and how does it work, because we will need to understand this before we move into our Ethereum name service, because basically the Ethereum name service works like a name auction. So I'm going to the aim of this tutorial is to walk you through auctioning a name on the Ethereum blockchain, and then getting the name and auctioning the name. So, and of course managing the name at the end of the day. So, but first of all, you need to understand what is a name auction and how it works, how this business of name auction works. And then in the last videos I discussed the necessary tools that we're going to need to be able to create and manage an Ethereum name service. Basically I just talked about MetaMask as a kind of a bridge that connects you to the internet of tomorrow on your browser today. MetaMask is so important because you know, it's one of the bridges currently that actually connects to the internet tomorrow, to the internet of tomorrow. That's just it. So MetaMask enable you to interact with the Ethereum blockchain seamlessly without any hurdles and too much technical knowledge. So that's why MetaMask is very important in this. In the next video, when I'm going to discuss purchasing the name and managing the name, I'm going to you are going to see how MetaMask comes into play. So what is a name auction and how does it work? If you look at here, a domain name auction facilitates the buying and selling of currently registered domain names. So if you see the domain name auction, like I said, it facilitates the buying and the selling of currently registered domain names, enabling individuals to purchase a previously registered domain name that suits their needs from an owner wishing to sell them. So for instance, let's say I own a domain name called abc.com, and it's my domain name. I purchased the domain name, and then I want to sell it. Of course, abc.com could be a nice domain name for registering my business, or for registering registering a big business. So someone interested in that name would actually come and purchase the name from me. The reason why people purchase domain names from other people is because of how simple the domain name is, and how they see it as a tool that will positively affect their business or what they are trying to talk about on their website. So it's a very important tool to the success. In fact, a domain name, it's one of the most important tools to the success of a website, because the name carries weight. For example, just a name carries weight. That's just it. So domain name auction sites allow users to manage multiple domain names that are listed for sale by owners. So there are different kind of domain name auction sites. It's a kind of business that people go into, and it allow users to search multiple domain names that are listed for sale by owners of that domain name. And aside also allowing them to search for the domain names that are listed by owners of the domain name, it allows them to place bids on the names they want to purchase. For example, if there are three names, abc.com and xyz.com, a user who is interested in purchasing that domain name could actually place bids on that domain name and actually place bid on that domain name that he wants to purchase, and then the highest bidder, of course, will get the domain at the end of the day. So as in any auction, generally that's how auctioning works. As in any auction, the highest bidder wins. The more desirable a domain, the highest bidder wins. That's just it. Just as in any auction, the highest bidder wins. Now, the more desirable a domain name, the higher the winning bid. Just like I said, for example, if abc.com is a nice name for business, then of course it's a desirable domain name, and then the higher the winning bid, because a lot of people will compete on getting that. A lot of people will compete to buy that domain name. So the higher the winning bid, of course, that means the more desirable the name is. And auction sites often provide links to escrow agents to facilitate safe transfer of funds and domain properties between auctioning parties. So how it works, basically, how this kind of business works basically traditionally is there has to be a middleman, like an escrow agent, where this middleman this middleman, this intermediary will act as an escrow between the seller of the domain name, the buyer of the domain name, and then probably the site, the auctioning site that is providing this service. So this intermediary has to act as an escrow to facilitate safe transfer of funds and then the domain properties. So that's how it works. But in the blockchain, of course, it doesn't work that way. All this, the blockchain eliminates the middleman. So this, in the blockchain, buying an Ethereum name for yourself, the middleman in that case will be a smart contract. So I'll come into that later and explain how it works. Now, domain name auctions have become more popular when buyers and sellers are looking for specific domain names to achieve high search engine optimization. And this is the keyword. Like I said, a name is very important to your business. A simple name like ABC could mean a lot to boost your business, activity, to boost your business sense to people. So a name is very important. Think of the name Microsoft. It's once they call that name Microsoft, the first thing that comes to your mind basically should be computers, and so that's it. So domain names become much more popular when buyers and sellers are looking for domain names to achieve high search engine optimization. So that is what a domain name is. That is what name auction is, rather, and that's how it works. There is actually a company that will do the auctioning, and then buyers of domain names and sellers of domain name come to that marketplace. Let me call it a marketplace. They come to that marketplace to bid and to buy and sell the domain name, in which an escrow party or an escrow agent or an escrow company will also be there to facilitate the safe transfer of funds and then the domain name properties between the auctioning parties. So that's how a name auction works. And then of course I'll also talk about a domain name auction website, which, just like I said, it's a kind of like an organization or a website or a company that creates a kind of marketplace for the auctioning parties to come and trade domain name. So a domain name auction website provides a technology through which users can list or purchase multiple domains easily and conveniently. So the domain name auction website is just like a marketplace where users can list their domain name or purchase their domain name conveniently and easily. So domain parking, actually it's one of companies before domain parking. I should have make this bold. Domain parking, once the most efficient method for advertising domain for sale, allow a domain name owner to post the availability of the domain on a page, hoping someone who was interested in that name will surf through and see it listed for sale. So that's how domain parking, that's how it works. It's a company, that's how it works. It was once a very popular and one of the most efficient domain name auction website. Now, with the development of domain auction, multiple users can list multiple domains all in the same place. So like I said, these companies that provide the marketplace for domain auctioning, can allow multiple users to list multiple domains all in the same place, thereby exposing them to greater number of potential buyers, of course. So let's say I'm into the business of buying domain names and selling them later. So I could buy like 4, 5, 6 domain names, and then I come to a domain auction website like domain parking and then list all my domain name, because the more I list my domain names, of course, the more it exposes me to a greater number of potential buyers. So sites such as eBay actually have been using auctioning, auctions very commonplace, and domain auction sites also require little or no technical knowledge to use. So eBay basically it's into auctioning, not just only auctioning domain names, but of course auctioning different kind of products that you have and you want to sell, where the highest bidder gets to purchase or gets the domain name at the end of the day. Now aside this, of course, there is a downside for this process, because number one, I said middlemen are involved, like an escrow agent has to be involved to facilitate a safe and convenient transfer of the funds and the domain properties between the auctioning parties. So I talked about that, and with that comes some certain amount of risk, in which I'm going to talk about here, like cyber squatting. Now, what is cyber squatting? Cyber squatting is registering, trafficking in, or using a domain name with bad faith intent to profit from the goodwill of a trademark belonging to someone else. No, it's a kind of it's a kind of method of it's a kind of method of profiting not in a very purposeful manner from someone else's trademark. For instance, let's say I have the information that google.com will expire 31st December 2018 at so time. I could actually deploy a software. In fact, cyber squatting has reached that stage that I could actually deploy a software that at that time that the domain is expiring, I buy google.com. And of course, if I buy google.com at that point, I can sell it $1 million to Google. They will be ready to buy, because that is the primary point of their business. So that's one thing about domain squatting, in which of course this can be avoided in the blockchain, which I'm going to talk about that in the later video. So many predatory buyers will even employ softwares, of course, just like I said, to search for newly expired domains, and register them out from under the original owner before he or she could renew it. So if you just give a time lag, you own a nice domain name like Microsoft.com or Google.com or Oracle.com or Facebook.com, and there is a time lag in registering your domain name, somebody could just buy it, and they could employ software to buy that. And of course, once they do that, you have to pay a lot to these guys before they could release the name for you. They could even charge you up to $1 billion. Now, this practice is often used to extort large amounts of money from legitimate domain name holders who rely on their domain names to remain in business. And just think about it. Just think about Facebook.com, and somebody gets to hold and own Facebook.com aside Mark Zuckerberg. Just think about how much he's going to charge Facebook for releasing that domain name. So that is one big and huge disadvantage of the current way we purchase names. Currently we auction and purchase names, in which of course in the Ethereum name service it's quite different in this kind of cyber squatting problems won't come into place. Now there are two types of domain name. Actually, there is the top level domain name, TLDs, which includes the popular ones we know, .com, .edu, .gov, .net, .tv. Like these are top level domain names. And then there's secondary level domain names, which you can also call them like sub domain name, which precede the top level domain name in web address. For example, you could get a support.microsoft.com. So the support dot, it's the secondary level domain name, which basically maybe Microsoft will use that for any question you want to ask about Microsoft products. So, and usually refers to organization that has been registered to top level domain name. So if I own like google.com, we could have a different sub level domain names or secondary level domain name, as it is called. So that is that about name auctioning and what it is and how to use it and how to use it. So how to use it and how it works. I'm going to in the next video we're going to talk about the Ethereum name service, how you can create the Ethereum name service, how to use it, and then you'll get to see the advantages of the Ethereum name service, in which basically I said the main difference between the Ethereum name service and the domain name that we know today is in the Ethereum once you purchase an Ethereum name, you can actually send Ether into that name. For example, if I purchase my name ayuba.eth, for instance, it means you can actually send me Ether there, which of course you can do with the ordinary domain name that we have today. So it's one of the major differences, and with this alone comes a whole lot of use cases that we are yet to see as the blockchain is developing and evolving. So thank you very much, and then just stay with me until the next video. An Ethereum name service. My name is Ayuba Moazu, and in this 6th session here, we are going to create and manage an Ethereum name service. So we are going into the actual creation and the management of an Ethereum name service. So if you can remember, in the last session, I talked about what is a name auction and how it works. And then I also discussed about the vulnerability that we get to encounter with the current way name auction works. I talked about cyber squatting. I talked about how people get to deploy softwares to check for existing domain names that are about expiring, and then they purchase that domain name to sell it at a very, very high price. So I talked about this in the last session, and then of course I also introduced you to MetaMask in one of the videos. One of the sessions, I introduced you to MetaMask as a bridge that connects you to the internet of tomorrow. So in this session here, we're going to create and manage an Ethereum name service, which is actually not something very difficult, since we already have our tools handy. Make sure that you have your MetaMask installed in your browser, and then I'll show you how this goes. So first of all, there are sites that you can actually go to create and manage your Ethereum name, the Ethereum name. And then there are sites you can sell your names, and then there are sites you can also create a subdomain under. So I will just show you through all. I'll walk you through these sites to see how it works. Now, first of all, there is this site, registrar.ens.domains. Now, this site here is where you can look up an Ethereum name to check the availability, and then pay a certain amount of Ether that will lock up that domain names for a certain period of time. I'll come back to this. Then of course there is also this site here, ENSlisting.com. ENSlisting.com, you can see what they say here: buying an ENS name. This here too, you can also search for domain names. You can buy domain names through a kind of Victory auctions, and you can bid buy names listed in various aftermarket auction platforms, and then you can buy subdomains instantly under many friendly top domain names. I talked about top level domains, and then I talked about secondary or sub level domains. For example, let's say Vitalik buttering.eth could be a top level domain name, and you could decide to just use your own name www.vitalikbuterin.eth. Vitalik Buterin is the founder of Ethereum. So this is ENS listing, and then it's also a good site. You can check it out and see what you can do here. And of course, there is Name Bazaar, namebazaar.io. Look at what they said here. They say peer-to-peer marketplace for the exchange of names registered via Ethereum Name Service. So here I have a domain name I want to sell. You can come to Name Bazaar and then exchange that name. So you can see, if you look at it, you'll get to see different domain names that are for sale. You can see this visualizer.eth. This is the price that is put for it. So you can look at it, and anyone that suits you or suits your business that you like, you can actually buy or place a bid. So, and then of course there is manager.ens.domains. It's also a sub domain of the registrar of the ENS domain, so it's a subdomain of that. Now here you can search and select a domain to start managing your domain. So for example, I search for a particular domain name that I like vitalik.eth, so I could decide to create a subdomain under this because I like this name. And then of course you can just browse through all this. They are very simple websites, but since we're talking about the registration, let's go to the first one. So here now, let's say first of all, you look up a domain name that you want to buy. So let me use my name. Let's say ayuba.eth. You can see I searched this yesterday. Okay, my name is okay. You can see good. They say name is too short. Names are temporarily limited to 7 characters or more. This limit will be reduced at some point in future. So you can see, so my name is small, so at least 7 character later or more. So let's say, let me use my second name, Ojonlugwa. Yes, I know it's not a popular name, so I expect to see it available. Good. So ojonlugwa.eth is available, and look at what it says here. I need to read this for you so that while I explain, so that you understand how this works here. Now first of all, I searched for this name. Is available. So names in Ethereum are used to send Ether. I explained this in the beginning, to access apps and for other future uses. Names are not bought from anyone. Ownership is guaranteed by willingness to lock Ether for at least a year. So for me to own this name, actually, names are not bought here. Rather, the ownership of this name is guaranteed as far as I'm willing to lock a certain amount of Ether for 1 year. For example, if I value this name so much, I could lock it for 20 Ether for a year, or I could lock it for 1 Ether, depending on how I value the name. While the Ether is locked, the owner retains the right to the domain, including rights to add extra data, create subdomain, lease, loan, sell it, or do anything with other smart contract. So that's what this does here. So once I've locked Ether on this name as the owner of this name, I have the right to add extra data. I have the right to create a subdomain under this. I have the right to lease this name. I have the right to sell this name. I have the right to loan out this name with other smart contracts. So if it's a very nice name, if it's a beautiful name that will fit into business, of course you could make money on this. You could decide to lease your name for sale, and then you could make money, just like how you see in Name Bazaar here, or you can see in the secondary markets. People could decide, if your name is so nice, people could decide to have a secondary secondary subdomain name under it. For example, like most countries, I checked, most countries have already been locked up here. Like for example, my country, Nigeria, I tried let's say Nigeria.eth. Good. You can see Nigeria is owned. This name was registered on this date. Owner offered up to 11 Ether. Second highest bidder was this. So probably this name now, this is a very good thing. This Nigeria.eth. It means in future, if this person keeps on locking this name, since this person already owns this name for a year, it means anybody that wants to, for example, let's say I have a business in Nigeria. Maybe I'm into manufacturing of biscuits, and then let's say I say biscuits.nigeria.eth. I need that subdomain. It's nice. I like it to carry the Nigerian brand. Of course, I could actually the owner of this name, this Ethereum address, I could actually go into business with him. He could decide to say, okay, I'm going to sell this subdomain for you for this price. So it's a nice way of also making money for yourself. So you could think of nice names that you could use. I tried looking at this name yesterday, government blockchain.eth. Thank God you're watching this tutorial. If you're cool with the name, if it's still available, you could use it. So let's go right ahead to my name. So Ocho Nu. .eth. So good. Let's come up. Good. Now this is how it's done. So now once I've locked this name, of course I could create subdomain, lease, sell the name, or do anything with other smart contracts. I could write a smart contract that whenever you want to interact with the smart contract, you go to this this name here, ojonugwa.eth. Now the process takes 5 days, and the amount of ether locked gets determined by auction. So what happens here is, if I lock this name, let's say for $10, for 10 ether for instance, and someone decides to bid this name because he values this name probably more than me, and decides to bid this name for $20, of course he's going to own the name, he's going to win, and then he will have to pay $10. He will have to pay $10. He will have to pay $10 since I'm the second highest bidder. So that's what he will pay to own that name. So if nobody tries to claim your name in the first week, then you will be refunded all the funds other than the minimum amount of 0.01 ether. So this is the minimum amount. You won't be refunded this amount for any name you bid. Now that's after a week. Now after at minimum a year, the owner can release the name back to the market and thereby recover locked funds. So let's say I locked this name for 10 ethers, and then after a year I can release the name back into the market, and of course I get recovered my locked funds. I get recovered my 10 ether. When the permanent registrar is deployed, owners will have the right to move their names to the new registrar or get their ether back. The permanent registrar will probably make sitting on an inactive domain unprofitable by further locking of ether. So you need to take note of this. The current registrar is temporary. It is expected that in 1 to 2 years a new update process will replace it with extra functions to discourage squatting. I talked about cyber squatting in the last video. So of course you can see how it's going to be discouraged here. Now names registered are now very likely to be grandfathered in updated register. So they're actually telling you what will happen in the future. ENS domains are actually telling you what will happen in the future, but you're expected to execute a transaction to move names. The current contract will not accept registration in 4 years, and any ether remaining on it will become irretrievable after 8 years. Keep yourself informed and be ready to transfer names in the coming years. So you need to take note of all this that I just read. You can look through their website, and then you can get to see how it is. So you bid a name by submitting the maximum amount of ether you are willing to lock. If you are outbid, your ether will be refunded. If your bid wins, you'll be refunded any amount your bid exceed the second place bidder. Note, you only need to bid once. Your maximum bid is kept secret until you reveal it. So actually there are stages, you understand. First of all, you bid, then you reveal, then you lock. Now so how much do you value this name? For instance, let's say I value this name, I'll send the maximum amount of money I value this name. Let's say I just value this name at this current amount, this default amount, 0.01 ether. So you can click more options to know more about. Then you click here, By understand, you see, by clicking here, you say I understand the process works and my risk and responsibility involved. So now you click bid and this will pop up MetaMask, and then I send in that amount of Ether. Good. You can see what it says here. Your bids are sealed with a secret to protect their anonymity. So you need the key to reveal. Backing the bids up allow you to restore them in case of data loss. Only bidding accounts can reveal it. So make sure you are that safe too. So I need to download this bid so that in the review stage I can actually get to use it. So it's a JSON file actually. You just click this, and then you need to download the information on this bit. So it's downloading here, and then after this during the reveal stage, you could have you could upload this back to get to your domain. Now you can see, of course, I have insufficient balance, but if you have enough Ether on your account, you could just go straight out ahead and then hit the submit button. Here we'll change to submit, not buy Ether that I have here. I just don't want to spend this money, so that's why I'm showing you here. So you click the submit button, and then you've placed the bid on that name, which will be locked for the amount of time I told you. Now during that amount of time, if nobody let me just reject this. If nobody outbids you, then the domain gets to become yours, and then it's locked for that value, 0.01 Ether. Back up your bids, no bids found. You can still download data that might be used to recover lost bids in the future. Of course, you can do that. So that's how it works. You can see this. I tried doing this yesterday, and then of course there is this that I just did now. So that's how you register an Ethereum name using the Ethereum Name Service, ENS domains. So once you do that and it gets locked up into a smart contract, you see it's actually very different from how you buy normal domain name, you know, from hosting companies, which is a centralized way, centralized market. So here now it's decentralized. It happens on the blockchain. Now everything that happens here goes into a smart contract. So once I bid this name on a certain amount of Ether, it goes into a smart contract and it's locked up until somebody outbids me. And if nobody outbids me, then that name becomes mine for 1 year. And for 1 year, I could lease the name, I could resell the name, I could do a lot of things with it. So that's the beauty of this kind of name auctioning that is different from the one we know today. So I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and then I will see you next in the next video tutorials that I'm going to talk about other programming, blockchain programming issues. So once again, my name is Ayuba Muazu, and then thank you for watching. Welcome to the final session on this video series on how to create and manage an Ethereum name service. My name is Ayuba Muazu, and if you have made it this far, congratulations in this video tutorial on how to create your own Ethereum name service and how to manage it. Now of course I'm going to in these video tutorials we talked about a lot of things. First of all, we discussed what is a domain name server. Then I also talked about what is Ethereum name service, and then we looked at the differences between the DNS and the ENS, and then of course we said it's actually the same goal, converting computer readable names into human readable names, converting computer codes like IP addresses and Ethereum addresses into human readable names. That's the goal between DNS and ENS, and of course the differences is one runs on a centralized server and the other one runs on the blockchain. And then after that, also I discussed, of course, I went into details of what is a domain name, talked about how the domain name works, and how is domain name different from web hosting. And then I also talked about how to choose a domain name for your website and how to buy a domain name. Then from there, I also proceeded into more details. Of course, what is a domain name server, and then I also showed you the architecture, pictorial architecture on how the domain name server works. Then of course, after that, we also discussed how to choose a domain name for your website. Of course, I talked about the different level of domain names, the top level domain name and the secondary level domain names. So we talked about, of course, the difference between ENS and DNS, and I talked about why one works in a centralized fashion while the other one works on the blockchain in a decentralized manner. And then I also talked about tools that are needed to create a domain, the tools that are needed to create an Ethereum name service. I talked about MetaMask in particular, and then of course I talked about the different websites that you can use to buy your name and then manage it. So I talked about MetaMask as a bridge that allows you to visit the distributed web of tomorrow in your browser today. Then I proceeded to talk about what is a name auction and how it works, and I said it's something that has been existing for a very long time, even in the traditional way that we auction names. And then I talked about ENS, Ethereum Name Service, the website, and how name auctioning on the ENS it's very different. And then from there I also talked about in the DNS I talked about the disadvantages, like the vulnerability that people encounter when purchasing domain name server, and I talked about how that can be avoided using the blockchain. So of course, where I talked about cyber squatting, of course, and how it can be avoided on the Ethereum name service. So if you have made it this far, congratulations. My name is Ayuba Muazu, and thank you so much.